All right, grade fives. Today we are going to move on to our patterns unit. Our big idea is describing patterns in tables and rules can help us to solve problems and describe the world. Our concept for today is to be able to analyze a pattern and tell the rule. Let's assume this is our pattern. We have 5 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 11, 11 to 15, and so on. So we're going plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, and it's that repeated pattern, repeatedly increasing pattern. We call this an increasing pattern because it's going bigger, getting bigger. And each time we're adding one more than before. The pattern rule could be described as start at 5, add 1, increase the number you added by 1 each time. So this makes your rule very specific. You've indicated your starting point, you've indicated how much you've added the first time, and then how much you continue to add each time. And we can see this in picture form as well. A pattern can always be shown in picture form as well. Here we have 5. Now we have 6, we're adding 1 more. This time we're adding 2 more, and when we're adding, it's all in a very predictable fashion. Next time it'll be 5, and each time it's added to the next row. Here we have another pattern. We are going from 10 to 6, 6 to 11, 11 to 7, 7 to 12. This one's a little bit tricky because it's getting smaller and then bigger and then smaller and then bigger, but after we look at it we can see it's predictable in how it's increasing and decreasing. It's minus 4 plus 5 minus 4 plus 5. So the rule for this would be start at 10 and alternating, so once subtract 4, then add 5. Alternating means back and forth. And if we were to continue the pattern, we could see that we would continue with 12. Now we would add 4, then we would subtract 5, and so on. In reality, there's actually 2 patterns going on here. The adding 1 pattern and the other pattern where it's a subtracting pattern. Oh, and we can also see here that it's adding 1 every second number, and it's adding 1 every second number as well. All right, now's your opportunity to practice. Press pause and try to find the pattern rule here. If possible, make your pattern rule the one that goes across from 1 to 4, 2 to 8, 3 to 12, and so on. That pattern tends to be more effective. We can also look at a rule as a output to output rule, or we can look at it as an input to input rule. The most effective rule is the input to output rule because it's easy to use to extend, because we don't need to continue the pattern. We just have to know what the input is to get the output. Press pause now and see if you can find the rule. All right, let's see how you did. We have 1 table to 4, 2 tables to 8, 3 tables to 12. So what could we do from 1 to get to 4? Well, we could try a couple of things. We could try, first let's try adding. 1 plus 4 does equal 4. Check, that one works. Our next input is 2, so 2 plus 4 equals 6. Shucks, that one doesn't work. So that means the plus 4 pattern isn't an option. And remember, sometimes it will take more than 1, 2, even 3 or 4 tries till you finally determine which pattern actually fits. Let's try a multiplication pattern. I can see this number is getting larger, so it's best if I try addition or multiplication. So I've tried addition, now I'm going to try multiplication. Well, 1 times 4 will get you to 4. Check. 2 being our next input, times 4 is our rule. It gives us 8, which is our second output. 3 times 4 is 12, which gives us our third output. So this would be our rule. We would start at 1 and then multiply by 4 each time. Now, if I told you I had 6 tables, I could immediately go 6 times 4 and figure out that I would be able to seat then 24 people. And that's where this input to output rule is very helpful, as opposed to realizing that I go up by 1 each time here and I go up by 4 each time here. All right, here's another one. Again, if you can try for an input to output rule, that is more effective. See if you can find the input to output rule for this one. Press pause and give it a try. All right, let's see if we had 1 table to 6, 2 tables to 12, 3 tables to 18. Again, I can see it's an increasing pattern. I'm going to try addition first. 1 plus 6 does equal 6. Yep, that one's great. 2 plus 6 equals 8. Oh, that one doesn't work, so the plus 6 rule doesn't work. Let's try a multiplication rule. 1 times 6 would be the one that would give us 6. Check, that one works. 2 times 6 does give us 12. And 3 times 6 does give us 18. Remember, when you're trying a pattern rule to see whether or not it fits, it must work for a minimum of 3. Must work for at least 3 rows in your table to determine that it is in fact the correct rule. So the way we would say this rule would be start at 1 and multiply 6 each time. Sometimes our rules are not in tables. Sometimes it's a list of numbers. So in that case, then we need to see, well, what do we do to get from this number to this number, this number to this number, this number to this number, and so on. So take a moment and press pause now and try to find the rules for these lists of numbers. All right. Let's take a look. So we've got 116 to 121, 121 to 126, 126 to 131, 131 to 136. I've noticed this case, for example, I noticed that plus 5 would work. So then I look back, oh yeah, plus 5 works here too. Plus 5 works here as well. So in this case, I would start at 116 and I would add 5 each time. Let's take a look at our second one here. If you haven't already done so, press pause and try it. All right, 4 to 8, 8 to 16. Well, to get from 4 to 8, well, I could add 4. 8 plus 4, ooh, that doesn't equal 16, so let's try multiplying. 4 times 2 would give us 8. 8 times 2 does give us 16, so that could be our rule. So in this case, we start at 4 and multiply 2 each time. And let's take a look at our last rule. If you haven't tried it yet, press pause and try it now. All right, 1 to 3, 3 to 9, 9 to 27. When I look at this one, I can quickly see that this is actually all multiples of 3. So I'm going to try multiplying 3 each time. 1 times 3 is 3, 3 times 3 is 9, 9 times 3 is 27. That would be my rule. So again, it would be start at 1 and multiply 3 each time. Very good when you are telling your rule to be specific about where it started at, and then what it is that you did, and indicate whether or not it's each time, whether it's alternating, and write your rule as specifically as possible. All right, now you get to head off and do some practice. Math Makes Sense grade 5, page 8, numbers 1, 3, 4, and 5. Remember to be very specific in your rule. Remember to try as many different ways as you can. If it's an increasing pattern, you are adding or multiplying probably. If it's a decreasing pattern, you are subtracting or dividing probably. Make sure that you record each rule that you try so that we can have evidence of all the ones you tried if in case you do get stuck, which could happen. I would recommend using a calculator in this case so that our error is not on basic facts. Go ahead and give it a try, and remember, if you have questions, that you ask.